Market ends in the red amidst US President Donald Trump tariff threats and ongoing tensions in West Asia. Market closes at the day's low, with Nifty ending below 25,000. Meanwhile, all sectoral indices close in the red except IT and defense. Promoters of Vishal Mega Mart offloaded 20% stake through block deal for about 9,900 crore rupees, bringing their stake down to near 55%. Private investor and promoter Kedara and partners PE rack in the mall. Zee Entertainment has proposed the issue of a near 17 crore warrants to the promoters at a price of 132 rupees per share. The warrants, once converted within 18 months, will up the promoter stake to over 18% from current 4%.
You're watching us here on Markets Forward. This is your go-to show where we aim to get you all the key data points to gear up for the next trading session while we wrap up today's trading session as well. And today's day was on the downside. We saw, recovery in yesterday's trading session, but today it was a 93-point downtick that we saw on the Nifty, led lower by the Nifty Bank as well as Reliance. The one sector that did well today was the IT pack, so that supported the Nifty at lower levels, and as a result of which we did not see a big gash. The Nifty still held on to the 20-day moving average. The problem point was the broader markets. We had 1,800 stocks declining for about 800 stocks which were advancing, and that's something that we need to monitor at a time where there is a fair amount of global uncertainty. The question that one asks is that post, the RBI policy up move that we saw in the markets, are we back into that range that we were looking at? I'm Mangalam Malu, with me, Vinny Motiwala. Hi, Vinny.
Hi, Mangalam. So, yes, it's been a very interesting day, right? We've been in that range as well, what you're talking about right now. It's not managed to go below 24,800 in terms of a level there today. And on the higher end, we maintained the 24,000, around the 24,982 mark was the day's highest point. But then we again saw that fall coming in, but just around that range. So, nothing interesting that happened. Broader end of the markets, obviously, like you mentioned, that also saw a bit of an underperformance today. Pharma, that was something that extended its decline further on in the day as well and almost ended the trading session with down of almost 2% cut, is what we could say, 1.9% to be precise. So that's to watch out for in the trading session. And other than that, what was lagging was also the metals pack. So that also is something that was not doing well in the trading session. But here's an exciting lineup for you all on the show today. So what we'll start with is going to be the top movers and shakers of the day with Vivek, and then move on to some of the stocks which were in focus today. Vishal Mega Mart was buzzing in trade, and this came in after a large block deal that took place there. Zee Entertainment also witnessed an uptick after receiving board's approval for issuance of convertible warrants. Schneider Electric was buzzing in trade after a rating upgrade came in for the stock. Also, we will talk about, the key events to watch out for as well. But let's move on and get started with our first segment for the day. Vivek is joining in with us from the big world to tell us the top movers and shakers for the day. Vivek, over to you.
Well, thank you so much for that. Like you mentioned at the start of the show, a day where you actually saw the declines outpacing the advances and a slightly muted session when you look at it in that particular manner. What did well? Well, the entire IT pack managed to do quite well in the session today. Most of the IT stocks ended with gains, especially the mid-cap IT continued to outperform, although most of the stocks gave quite a bit of the gains, especially in the second half of the trading session. One stock, from the broader end of the markets that did quite well, Tanla Platform, you did see a buyback announcement come in that particular name. So Tanla Platform was one particular stock that did quite well in the broader end of the market, cooled off a little bit towards the end of the session, like the rest of the market. Happiest Minds, this particular stock was the top gainer as far as the NSE 500 was concerned, stood out clearly on very strong volumes, over 10% higher, and Anand Rathi initiating coverage note 2, aiding the rally as far as Happiest Mind was concerned. Siemens, one stock from the capital goods space that managed to end with gains of over 1.5%. A company as part of a consortium won a contract, this is for a bullet train from the National High Speed Rail Corporation. And Navin Fluorine, this particular stock from the chemical pack doing very well. A slew of upgrades. Yesterday, I did see an upgrade from Morgan Stanley, a whole host of positive brokerage notes aiding the rally as far as Navin Fluorine was concerned. On the other hand, quite a few stocks, that did see selling pressure as well. You have to talk about the entire pharma pack. All of the stocks tanked, and this is after US President Donald Trump indicated to reporters that there could be tariffs for the entire pharma pack coming in quite soon. Also look at a name like Shipping Corporation of India on strong volumes, this particular stock amongst the top NSE laggard, and along with this, whole host of consumer durable names, all of them did see selling pressure emerge, especially in the second half or in the later half of the trading session today.
All right, Vivek, thanks a lot for that. So that's about the individual stocks that were buzzing around in today's trading session. But let's focus once back on the market. We have our guests joining us as well. Bala of cashthechaos.com joins in, and alongside that we do have Ambareesh Baliga as well. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in. For the market, Jay, chartically, we're back in the range. You're bullish. When do we get the breakout, and what really leads that breakout?
There's a reasonable possibility, Mangalam, that Friday's low marked the end of the correction. But it's not a hands-down setup. But in the event that markets were to break below the 24,300 support, which is slightly below the Friday's low, I think a slightly deeper pullback to about 23,500 is possible. But in either of those cases, the markets are headed for 29,000, in my opinion, from a 6 to 12 months perspective. Where does the breakout occur? If the markets were to take out the 11th June high. And for this, either Reliance, SBI or TCS needs to provide the lift. So watch out. Any breakout on one of these three stocks is likely to result in the Nifty crossing the June 11th high.
All right, Jay, just as market closed, there was important breaking news that came in as well, and which is the fact that the NSE may have gotten the nod from the SEBI for the expiry to shift from Thursday to Tuesday. Yash joins in with more. Yash earlier told us that this was a possibility, and a couple of weeks later, it looks like it is fructifying. Yash.
So Mangalam, I'll just give a couple of dates on which we had reported the story. This was on May 22nd that we had informed our viewers that NSE, the National Stock Exchange, has applied to receive Tuesday as its expiry day, and SEBI is considering NSE's request to grant the exchange Tuesday as its expiry day. At that time, no decision was of course made, but it was under consideration. 15th June was the last day to submit the applications on SEBI's consultation paper. And today morning itself, we reported that a final decision on which exchange gets Tuesday and which exchange gets Thursday as its expiry is expected today itself. My sources tell me that that particular regulation, the circular, has indeed been communicated so far to the exchanges. It hasn't been uploaded on SEBI's website yet, which will soon happen. But sources tell me that NSE has indeed received Tuesday as its expiry day, which means that BSE will have to work with Thursday as its expiry day. Now, at the end of it, both of them have one day in the week as their expiry day. But these 2 days make a lot of difference, because there is fear as far as the street is concerned that if BSE does not receive Tuesday, or whichever exchange receives Tuesday, will be able to attract more volumes, will be able to attract more market share when it comes to the trading volume on expiry day. This is the significance of the 2 days, that is Tuesday and Thursday, as expiry days. But indeed, as of now, the big news, and of course courtesy sources, is that Tuesday as the expiry day has been approved for NSE, which means Thursday will go to BSE.
Okay, Yash, Tuesday is going to NSE as of now, Thursdays will go to BSE. Ambareesh, what's your take coming in on this one as well? Yash mentioned 22nd of May when we first reported the story of this coming in as well. And that day we'd seen BSE see a fall also in terms after the announcement or more in terms of the story. So what is your outlook now for BSE that you have?
No, because of this, again, I think there'll be a decent amount of shift of volumes, and NSE could in fact gain because of the Tuesday expiry. And this would be negative for BSE. So we had seen a decent move in BSE in the last couple of months. I think there could be some reversal now.
What was interesting, Ambareesh, is there were a bunch of brokerages which did say that BSE's market share in options hasn't grown as much over the last couple of weeks or so, and more so now the belief is that there could be more downside when it comes to market share if the expiry was to move from Thursday to Tuesday. Some of them pinned that amount to almost 300 basis points of market share loss. The stock already has seen a correction from close to 3,000 to about 2,600 rupees. How much do you think would be in the price a 300 basis points market share erosion, would that be priced in with a 10-11% market price fall, or do you think there is more on the downside?
I think there could be some more on the downside. I mean, I'll not be surprised. I mean, after this news, if in case we see another possibly 7 to 8% more fall in BSE.
And Jay, chartically, how does the stock look? Because it had seen a one-way rally. Then there was a mild dip when Yash first reported that story way back in late May. And that it was quickly bought into. It's just the last few trading sessions where the stock has seen a bit of a decline. What is your thought? Chartically, what are the important levels to watch out for BSE?
My thinking is that the stock has probably got one more higher highs to come through in the short term. And I don't think the decline that we are seeing is going to print 25.35. I think it will hold above that. And even if you try to print, the key level is 25.35 and 2400. As long as it stays above 2400, I would still believe that the stock has got one more high above 3000 to come through.
Okay, that's the view there coming in on BSE as of now, but we'll keep an eye out on more in terms of this coming.
Probably try and get some experts to comment in on this as well, and I'm sure our teams are having a conversation with the exchanges themselves, and we'll await the SEBI nod that will come by. So the BSE NSE story, extremely important, came immediately after market close.
Absolutely, immediately came after market close. But coming back to some of the announcements that came in during the market hours, Zee Entertainment that gained, and this is coming in after the board has approved the issuance of nearly 17 crore fully convertible warrants. Vamakshi is joining in with us to give us details on this front. Vamakshi.
Well, Vinny, the board has given an approval for issuance of almost 17 crore fully convertible warrants to promoter group entities. Keep in mind that the issue price per warrant stood at 132 rupees. This is coming in at a 4.5% discount as to the closing price yesterday. The shareholders are looking to infuse around 2,237 crore in the company, and after that, their shareholding is expected to rise from 4% currently to over 18%. This would also result to equity dilution, because assuming all warrants get converted into equity, nearly 15% equity dilution can be expected. The company also has a very strong cash position. Keep in mind that 25% of issue price is expected to be paid upfront. They will be receiving 560 crore, taking their cash on books on an immediate basis to somewhere around 2,965 crores. And this brings a question in investors' mind: was the equity dilution needed? Because they, in addition to this, they also had an in-principle nod from the board to raise 2,000 crores via FCCBs, and only the first tranche of this was withdrawn of almost 200 crores. Broadly, they've given how they want to utilize the funds, but the capital allocation, specific quantum of this would be need to monitor.
All right, we will monitor that. Vamakshi, thanks a lot for that. So that's about Zee Entertainment. Another stock which was doing well in an otherwise wobbly market, especially in the broader end of things, was Schneider Electric. It's got a rating boost, a double upgrade coming in from Goldman Sachs. Nimesh joins in with more on that one. Nimesh.
So now the stock is reacting on the back of a double upgrade from Goldman Sachs and Schneider. So they've upgraded the stock to a buy from sell, and they've raised the target price to 910. Now there are four key drivers for this upgrade according to the Goldman Sachs note. First and foremost, the increased TAM, which Goldman believes that it can go up to almost $14.5 billion by FY32 versus the current $9.6 billion. And also the market share for Schneider is likely to go up in the same period to almost 3.5% from current 2.9%. So that's the first big trigger. The second big trigger is the further expansion in the margins. So Goldman expects the margins to go up to almost 40% by FY32 versus the current margins of 38.5%. So that's going to improve the earnings as well. Third, the valuation is likely to catch up versus the peers like Hitachi on the back of this large order TAM as well as margin expansion. And fourth, the government support will mean additional revenue drivers for companies like Schneider. In fact, Goldman is expecting a 31% order inflow CAGR between FY25 to FY27 estimate. So on the back of a large TAM, a margin expansion, a double upgrade on Schneider to a buy now from Goldman Sachs, and they've raised the target price to 910.
Okay, a double upgrade that's come in for Schneider Electric from Goldman Sachs. Ambareesh, what is your view coming in for Schneider Electric? Do you see now there's a lot of value here, and valuation catch-up is something that we're watching out for?
Absolutely. I mean, with the sort of order flows which are there, and clearly it's expected that the market share will increase from that 2.9% to 3.3%. There'll be a margin expansion going ahead. So I think all this will add up to the valuation, which I think should move up. So the sort of target price which Goldman Sachs has given of 9910, I think it's easily achievable. And in case we're talking of the next 18 to 24 months, I think it should be much, much higher than that.
Wow, that'll be much higher than that. That's the view coming in on Schneider Electric. Jay, do you have a technical view on Schneider Electric or any of the stocks from this industrial electric utility sort of space that does well?
I had a call on Schneider Electric on the 25th of May on CNBC-TV18, and I know the stock went up, limit up the next day, and I have a price objective of about 960 to 1,000. So very similar to what Ambareesh is saying. I'm more bullish than Goldman Sachs.
All right, you are more bullish than them. Meanwhile, while we move on and we try and get a handle on what took place post the markets with regards to the SEBI news that is likely to come by, where we do have we do understand from our sources, and Yash has spoken about this, that the BSE or rather the NSE will now get Tuesday expiry, the SEBI circular which is likely to come by. We'll just get the confirmation on that. Yes, we do have Mr. Shri, who's the Chief Business Development Officer at NSE, joining in. Thanks a lot, sir, for joining in. First up, sources tell us that the SEBI has issued this circular already, not on the website yet, but can you confirm that you have gotten the SEBI nod indeed for Tuesday expiry?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry.
So, can you confirm whether you have gotten the nod from SEBI for Tuesday expiry?
I'm actually traveling right now, but I can get back to you on this one. This is something that we had been waiting for, so it's quite possible. I'm outside the country right now.
Got that.
If you can give me a couple of minutes, maybe I can just check and come back to you.
Sure, our team will reach out to you in a couple of minutes as well. While you do the confirmations from there, we're also awaiting the nod coming in from the SEBI's website. But Mr. Krishnan, were this to happen, and consider this has happened on Tuesday, what could be the increase in market share on options volumes? Because over the last few quarters, we've seen you see a decline in your market share. Could you quantify how much beneficial it would be when it comes to your market share?
So I think, it's important for us to understand what ecosystem wants to see from NSE. NSE has been a pioneer in equity derivatives, and, NSE contracts are deeply liquid and very preferred even now. Even now, if you see on a Tuesday or on a Monday or even Friday, and we don't have an expiry, for example, our market share is still in the high 80s, and which goes to show how much the product is traded. So I think in the overall interest of the ecosystem, we had sought feedback, and the feedback was overwhelmingly in favor of having expiry on Monday, which we proposed. But then, given that the consultation paper came in, SEBI had requested us to keep that on hold and instead go by the consultation paper and the thought process which is set out therein, which we did. And given that Tuesday was the next best, closer to Monday, and we also had strong feedback from our ecosystem players that Tuesday would be a good day, if not Monday, to go with. We chose to apply for permission to go with Tuesday. Assuming that has come through, it's great news, and I think the ecosystem will immensely benefit from NSE contracts having Tuesday expiry.
So how much would that increase in market share be? I just want you could quantify that. If you could just give us a number on that front as well. What would the increase be if you're still holding majority over there?
Well, if I have to take a guess, this is going to be a little significant, although it's, we don't really look at market share as such as a market infrastructure institution.
Right.
But I think, with 3 days before the expiry, the ecosystem market participants will trade heavily, and therefore it could have a positive impact for NSE. in terms of market share if one were to calculate it strictly, assuming we were like a commercial organization. But like I said, we don't really look at market share as such in that manner.
Right.
But overall, I think it will be a significant positive.
There are two ways to look at it, Mr. Sriram Krishnan. One part is that had there been two exchanges doing the expiry on the same day, then obviously there would be that nudge for capital and that nudge for market share. But now this is moving from Thursday to Tuesday, while the other days are now open for the other exchange to keep their expiry. So you're getting your exclusive day for expiry. Just by virtue of moving from Thursday to Tuesday, what changes? I mean, why is it that there could be higher volumes on a Tuesday than Thursday when the days are exclusive?
No, it's not high volumes on Tuesday versus Thursday. See, as you know, the premium tends to go down towards zero as you progress towards the expiry day. And therefore, it's what's important is where is the previous expiry in the week. So if the previous expiry in the week is Thursday, or Friday onwards, people generally look at the next expiry that's coming up because premiums are going to be lower in that next expiry-oriented contract. And therefore, it's logical that a lot of action can be seen on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday on the NSE contracts, a bit more than what is currently seen. That's all I'm trying to say. This is just a logical analysis and a logical perspective.
Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for getting connected to CNBC TV18. You spoke about how Tuesday becomes, beneficial versus Thursday in that sense, and that's the logical conclusion. But there were also reports which spoke about how about 20% of the volumes could move away from sensex, if NSE indeed gets Tuesday as its expiry. Fair to assume that most of that volume could come to NSE, and could you speak about the trading volumes itself? As far as Tuesday expiry is concerned, what is the kind of share that you have alongside BSE on these days with, BSE having it on Tuesday and you having it on, of course, Thursday?
So if you see, the way the activity has been in the last many weeks, typically when it's our expiry day, we seem to have a market share of around 92 to 93% of the total premium on the expiry day. So it varies. Some days it's even 95, for example. If you even look at one day before the expiry day, we see similar market share even one day before the expiry day. If you look at even 2 days before the expiry day, typically it would be like this, assuming we have expiry on Tuesday. 2 days before expiry would be Friday, the previous Friday, which is just the first day of the new cycle for the exchange which has the expiry on Thursday. So logically, 3 of the trading days would be beneficial to the exchange that has expiry on Tuesday. Again, this is pure logic, nothing else. And that's what we have seen as well play out in the last many weeks. And so if you flip it around and say that the NSE expiry is going to be on Tuesday henceforth, which is confirmed now. And if that's the case, then obviously this is a huge positive for NSE. And I think that's what the market ecosystem wanted to see. And we've received feedback in the past. We never changed our expiry day, although we had a chance to do so when the other exchange went from Friday to Tuesday. We never announced a change at that point in time. So the change that we wanted to make was to Monday. However, given the consultation paper and the developments post the consultation paper, we opted for Tuesday, which was also a suggestion and which I think has now come through.
We take that point entirely, Mr. Sriram Krishnan. Thank you so much for joining us at a short notice on your overseas travel as well. But what we'll do is we'll leave you for a bit to get confirmations and perhaps get the strategic outlook for this as well, with a promise that we'll reconnect with you and get an outlook on what the plan going forward is as well. For now, if assuming you've gotten this nod and this is a positive, congratulations to you and your team. With that, we've entirely run out of time on this edition of Markets Forward. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV18. More news and updates continue.
Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Israel steps up attacks on Iran, bombs Iran's state-run media outlet during a live broadcast. Israeli military claims to have killed Iran's top military commander who took charge just days ago. Explosions rocked Tehran and Tel Aviv for the fifth day in a row. US President Donald Trump issues calls to immediately evacuate Tehran as he cuts short his G7 visit. Trump denies talks of a ceasefire, says he's working on something much bigger and wants a real end to the war. Adds Iran should give up nukes entirely. Indian students in Tehran relocated, says the External Affairs Ministry. Government advises all Indian nationals to move out of the city. Some Indians have left Iran through the border with Armenia. Prime Minister Modi all set to hold bilateral talks with Canada's Mark Carney at the sidelines of the G7 summit. The meeting comes after a period of strained relations triggered by Canada alleging India's involvement in the killing of a Sikh separatist in 2023. India has strongly rejected the charges. A late sell-off on Dalal Street as geopolitical tensions sink markets. Sensex and Nifty end at the low point of the day. Pharma stocks plunge after President Trump says tariffs are coming soon. Crude oil prices gain with Brent nearing the $75 mark. CNBC-TV18 exclusive confirmed. NSE tells CNBC-TV18 that SEBI has approved its request for Tuesday expiry. 5 days after the Air India plane crash, many grieving families still wait for the bodies of their loved ones as DNA matching continues. 144 bodies have been identified so far. Family members and friends bid an emotional farewell to Captain Sumit Sabharwal, the pilot of the ill-fated flight. Union Steel Secretary says government is plugging loopholes in import licenses to curb their misuse. Expects steel imports to decline sharply this financial year. Cab aggregators see clarity on GST. Sources say industry wants same treatment for those working on commission model on apps like Ola and Uber with those working on SaaS model on apps like Rapido. All right, straight to news just coming in.